right off the bat, I want to talk about one of the best games of Premier League football of the season, bar none. Real good, high tempo, exciting stuff. Arsenal-Liverpool. And we said by the end of this week, were Arsenal going to be title contenders? This was the question, and we would know after they went and handled their business against Spurs and Liverpool, because they're two teams that realistically should be challenging for the top four. They beat Tottenham, obviously, last week, a legit result. I mean, they didn't just beat them, let's be real. They dominated them. They looked much the better team. Along come Liverpool, and again, for 70% of this game, it finished 3-2. 70% of this game, it was all Arsenal. Just wonderful. Right from the get-go, Arsenal, high tempo, coming at you, running at you, Cleopatra, coming at you. It's what you want, right? Like, they aren't afraid anymore. Like, one of the hallmarks of Arsenal when they were having the rough season and they got right down there in the doldrums before they had the late flourish and ran up the table, they had some games where they really played reserved and really played scared. They aren't doing that anymore. Complete and utter confidence right from the get-go. And let's just start by talking about the benefits of great scouting laid bare for everyone. Martinelli, when he was purchased for Arsenal a few seasons ago, he was 6 million. Like, think about that in the economy we're in now, what he's worth now, what he brings to Arsenal, what he's doing in the league. And Martinelli, like, man of the match for me this game, didn't stop running. I think he's still got a bit to develop in terms of end product. But man, with all the criticism Trent was getting, the last person on planet Earth he probably wanted to play against was Martinelli. And Martinelli fucking skinned him alive. Like the Predator. It was unbelievable. And it happened in the first minute. I mean, Trent got done. It is a mistake for the goal Trent made, first minute. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it was all game. Like, Trent went off. And I don't know, actually, if it was the injury, if it was the knock he picked up. I think Klopp's trying to save his man, because 3 weeks ago, Klopp comes out and says he's backing Trent and he's getting more criticism and it's unfair. It's because he's an England international. He's so good, he'll bounce back. Trent is not a defender. We just got to get there. Like, this game for me, like, if you're not coming aboard for the Trent has got to either be played in a 5. Klopp has to either change his team to be a 5. He's a wing back. Right? If you've got a cover in right-sided centre-half, Trent can go forward all he wants. But you can't play him in a flat-back 4. It's as simple as that. You can't. He's not a right-back. So you have to play him on the midfield, or you have to play him in a 5. They're the only ways it's going to work for Trent. Is he great going forward? Yes. Does he have a good cross of the ball? Yes. Can he shoot from distance? Yes. Can he defend? Not for fucking toffee. And this is going to be a problem for England and, all the other teams that have been relying on these, like, very overvalued defenders. Like, actually, England have a defensive crisis right now. You know what I mean? There are good right-backs out there. Maybe not, like, ones that have loads of international tenure. But, like, Walker's still in the mix. Fucking Trent is meant to be the first choice, like. Reece James, last time I saw him in an England shirt, I think it was in the Germany game, he looked out of his depth. He really did at international level. And then it's Trippier. So, for me, by the way, Trent is a defender is nowhere near a Reece James or a Trippier. So I don't even know. He's going to go to the World Cup as well, Trent, unless this knock is legit and it's worse than what they're making out. But seriously, my prediction for Liverpool winning the league is so far off the pace now. I just want to rescind it. I want to denounce it. I want to pretend it never happened. It's actually embarrassing in retrospect. But it's all based on Trent. It's all based on Trent. They have got to... Trent has fucking done me. I blame Trent. Trent has fucked me over so hard. Right? And, like, listen, I know Klopp's got to look after his man. You've got to drop him, like. You've got to get Ten Hag mindset, grind set, Sigma male, top G coming in. What's that, Maguire? Your dog shit? Well, guess what? I don't care if you cost 90 mil. Blam! To the bench. Gone. That's what you need. You need the mad dog in the fucking house. You need the big dog to come in. And Klopp's going, but I think maybe Trent, if he just... No. It's over. Drop him. Liverpool are going to be 10th in the league and I'm going to look like a cunt. There's too much at stake, Klopp. Drop him. So, seriously, It's going to be very hard for Liverpool to kick up the table while they're relying on Trent in a back four. Back to Arsenal chit-chat. I mean, again, I don't think Saka had a particularly good game. He just weighed in with 2 goals here. I think he was pocketed a little bit over on that left side. Left side from, obviously, Liverpool's perspective. But, just shows how class Saka is. Quiet game, weighs in with 2 goals, few nice touches, really occupies a lot of defensive attention. I thought Jesus, if you want to see an example of how a striker can do loads of work that people don't notice, just watch him today. There'll probably be some videos you can watch, or you can get to Opta and watch some of his stuff. If you're really into that shit, if you really want to do tactical stuff, or you can wait for The Athletic to put a video out about it, which they probably will. But he just led the line so good. I mean, think about Liverpool centre-halves, and you think about Gabriel Jesus and what the player he used to be and the player he was in this game. Just fantastic. And realistically, Liverpool had a short spell. Nothing to shout about. The 3-2 flatters Liverpool, in my opinion. I said it was going to be 2-1, 3-1 to Arsenal. Kind of feel good about that, but bottom line is Arsenal are 100% legitimate title contenders. The best footballing team I've seen apart from Man City. And let's also be real, City, I think, are a bit more suspect at the back than Arsenal. I really like Arsenal's defensive unit. I actually think they've got a better defense overall than City. They don't seem to leak so many goals. But what they don't have is Haaland and De Bruyne and fucking Gundogan and Mahrez. Just absolute embarrassing just amount of riches moving forward. So that was the game of the weekend for me. It was the one that had the sort of highest stakes. So yes, congratulations to Arsenal. You're in a title race. Enjoy it. Let's go to an unlikely secondary talking point. Bournemouth-Leicester. Now, similarly, I said Liverpool are going to win. And similarly, I said Bournemouth are going to go down, and they're going to go down breaking Derby's record for lowest amount of points in the season. Turns out, I can never get the ends right. My ends are all fucked up. Because Bournemouth probably aren't going to finish bottom of the league. They're up to fucking 8th, right? And since they got rid of the fucking doom-monger Scotty Parker, it's actually worked out for them. They're playing, gritty football. You know what I mean? I think it's a nice way to put it. Ever since Gary O'Neill came in, they've been playing a different kind of football, gritty football. Remember, this was a side getting tuned up 9-0 by a wounded Liverpool. This is a side getting tuned up, I think they had a 5-0 in there as well. So what was going on with Parker? He must have lost the dressing room or something. Gary O'Neill's come in, I think, basically based on results. He's probably going to get the job full-time till the end of the season, unless they can get a big name to come into Bournemouth. I still want to see Sean Dyche back in the Premier League. But right now, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it for a season. Bournemouth were always going to have a hard job to stay up, but they've got 12 points on the board already. 12 points from 9 games for a team like Bournemouth is fucking insane. And when you look at some of the other teams that have been struggling and where they are, and in particular Forest signed 26, 27 players in the off-season, and they're bottom of the table. I feel good about Forest going back down. Oh, don't do it to me in the chat. Someone's brought up Steve Bruce. I'll just vomit. You'll think I'm doing ASMR, but I'm just puking at the fucking existence of Steve Bruce. Can you believe, I even saw there was a Brentford supporter, a Bournemouth supporter. I think it got posted on the Discord, but it was a Brentford one, and I think a Bournemouth one as well. And they were saying that, oh, listen, we should get Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce is available. How many times has this cunt got to fail before people realise he's a fucking bum? Seriously. He took West Bromwich Albion, who were in contention for the playoffs when he took over, but they were just playing boring football. He took them from that to bottom end of mid-table at the end of the season, and then he's won something like 1 game in 12 games this season. They're in the relegation zone. He's garbage. He is a moron. Do you know what he blamed it on? I tried to change too much at once. So no. Steve Bruce needs to just retire. And all the dickheads in the media, all the dickheads in the media are going to be going, oh, he's a good man. He needed more time. They were literally saying that again No, he's got to go. He needs to be pensioned off and never talked about again. Like, if I could, like, Stalin erase him from history, like, obviously, not the other thing Stalin used to do. I just mean have him removed from all the photos and the history books. I 100% would. He's a blight on football, that guy. So you don't want him at your club, like. So no, not Steve Bruce. Definitely give the job to Gary O'Neill, in my opinion. But anyway, like, obviously they beat Leicester. Leicester in the lead. They got a very early goal, and they did what Leicester do. Inability to close out games, inability to retain possession. Go look at the stats from that game. It's actually kind of a bit, like, crazy to think that Leicester in the first half, like, dominated possession, and then it just faded off, and it's finished, like, not 50-50, but, Bournemouth were right back in it in the second half, got 2 goals, and they had more shots, generated about the same number of shots on target, and in the end, Bournemouth were just stronger down the home straight. And Brendan Rodgers, I don't know how he's still got a job. I don't know how I'm recording this tonight, and Brendan Rodgers is still employed. Like, what is it going to take, Leicester fans? Listen, I'll get serious for a moment. When Ranieri took that team to win a Premier League, it broke world football in a way you will never see again in your lifetime. To be alive, to see a sporting story like that is sheer, like, joy, exuberance. To beat all of the big players in the Premier League, to beat all of the money men, to beat all of the people with the incredible academies, buying up all of the best talent with the oil money, all of this stuff. For them to win and to do it with the players they had, and to do it, like, collectively as, like, a family of rejects the way they did, man alive, it's an incredible story. It's one of the greatest sporting stories of all time. It doesn't matter whether you love the sport or not. If you just look at the story, it's incredible. And then obviously they go through all the trials and tribulations, the helicopter accident where their chairman passed away, the devastation on the players because he was a very hands-on owner. All the players knew him. Kasper Schmeichel was there, devastated, the PTSD. By the way, that guy was playing a couple of weeks later. And now you've watched all of those legends, and you were never going to keep them all. You were never going to keep the likes of an Encante. Like, that's just life. But you've watched them all, like, drift away, and not even to better clubs in some parts, just drifting away, broken apart, sold, and not replaced. And it was a moment in time that's just been kind of, like, not appreciated. And now you've got a manager that's still got very good players. You've still got world-class players at Leicester, but he is not the man for the job anymore. He has hit the end of the Rodgers road. This is how every Rodgers story ends. It's time to fire him. There's a rumour going around in the papers that they can't fire him because his payoff is too much. I don't believe that. And I tell you, get the fans to have a whip round. They'll get you the money. Leicester deserve better, Leicester have been, low-key, one of the great contributors to the Premier League. I think about, back when Martin O'Neill was their manager. I think about the games we used to have back in the day. Newcastle had some 4-3s against Leicester. Just a great team, man. Just a really great team with a great history. And I would be genuinely upset to see them get relegated. They're on course for that. If you're getting turned over by Bournemouth on the road, when you've got a goal, if you're incapable of holding on to a lead against Bournemouth, one of the least possession teams in the league, you have got problems. You've got fundamental problems. And keep in mind, in January, it can all get worse. Because if they're still in the bottom 3 come January, Tielemans is probably getting sold because I think his contract expires at the end of the season. So they're going to have to get some money for him to justify it because he will not re-sign. So you lose Tielemans, let's say. Maddison, linked to Newcastle. We've upped our interest to 60 mil. So Maddison is going to go. And then what have you got? You're struggling all of a sudden. Daka got a goal here. Like, he looks good. But yeah, you've got to get Rodgers out, and you've got to get someone that can steady the ship in, and then the board need to do some soul searching and spend some money. But yeah, Rodgers it's not even fraud watch anymore, it's just fraud. You can take the watch out. He's established himself as a fraud again. He's got to go for the good of Leicester, for the good of the Prem, honestly. Let's also talk about Potter. Yes, this is the Pottergander that I like to spew. Listen, all I'm saying is, low-key, hasn't he changed Chelsea? You'd be a mug to say he hasn't changed Chelsea. They look different. They're playing different. They look settled. They look more relaxed. Like, listen, I like Tuchel as a coach, but whatever Potter's done, certainly he's turned Havertz around, which is a massive deal. Start of this season under Tuchel, Havertz was nowhere. Like, I don't know what was happening to him, but he looked a fraction of the player he'd looked before. They looked a defensive shambles. Yeah, they've had some results that have gone their way, but, Potter has gone from managing, Brighton to beating Milan in the Champions League with one of the fucking maddest red cards I've ever seen in my life on Tomori. That was like fucking insane. That was grade A bullshit. But anyway, this is Prem Review. I love it. He's bringing Broha through. Wonderful, by the way, to see, because this is the Chelsea-Wolves game I'm talking about. 3-0, obviously, to Chelsea. It was wonderful to see the reception Costa got at Chelsea. I didn't know, actually, how much the Chelsea fans were going to care about that. Wonderful standing ovation for Costa. Great servant to the club. Used to love watching him play. Class act from the fans. Well done. But not only has Potter somehow brought Havertz back from the dead, he is low-key turning Mason Mount into, like, some sort of, like, competent international class midfielder, which, like, listen, I'm just saying, I didn't see that one. Like, I think Mason Mount's like one of those players that's like, again, gets a little bit too much credit because he's an England player, and I think he's got a long way to go. But under Potter, he seems transformed as well, and so immediately, like this game, Chelsea were on it from the start. Havertz, imperious. Mount, very, very good. Gallagher, since he's come back, from Palace and got in the team, looking great as well. Exciting, attacking, solid at the back, organised, disciplined, the way they carry the ball, the way they retain the ball. This was a 60% possession game for Chelsea. 20 shots generated. That wasn't happening under Tuchel. So Potter has got to get all the credit. Yeah, you can talk about the opponents they're playing, but remember, Chelsea was struggling against West Ham, should have lost that game. Had to rely on VAR's worst week to dig them out of the hole. So this is a much, much better Chelsea. 3-0 was actually conservative, could have had a lot more. I thought the Wolves keeper did pretty well. I thought Costa did well in this game as well. I thought he really held the ball up well, for an old man and a guy who hasn't played in the Premier League for a while. But yeah, seriously, Chelsea going to kick on up the table now, and probably how it's going to go is someone like City, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea now, because Liverpool, I think, are too far off the pace and aren't going to be able to fix any of the problems in time. So, we'll revise it. I said halfway point of the season, we'll revive it. But I'm feeling good about Chelsea creeping into that top four now with the managerial changes they've made, with the personnel changes they've made, with the stylistic changes they've made. Just to talk about Wolves a little bit, because obviously we talked about the gaffer getting fired last time around. They're in a tough spot. I think they've won one game in 16 now. That is obviously relegation form. They have got players on the books that they, could lose. I don't think they had Reyes in for this one. I think Reyes had a knock and was had to watch from the sidelines. Adama Traore, I thought he was decent this game. Tough game for him on that flank. But he's obviously looking to go. And Wolves are in a sort of similar spot to Leicester in the sense that they've got world-class players, because obviously they're a Premier League team. They're going to have world-class players, but they are looking like they're going to lose them if they can't turn their form around. And you take Reyes out, you take Traore out, they don't have a striker. You've got Moutinho in there as well. Who knows what's happening there. It's a tough time for Wolves. The appointment of a new manager is critical, and it has to be someone that understands the Prem, understands this squad, and can immediately get Wolves scoring goals. That's their problem. It's not even necessarily their defence. It's that they're just not putting the ball on the back of the net enough right now. Also, they are leaking goals as well, which one thing complements the other. If you're not attacking and if you're not scoring goals, if you're conceding goals, you're chasing goals, you concede more goals. It's a compound effect when your team's not in balance and not in harmony. And I just think, the loaning out of Conor Cody to Everton while Everton are kicking up the league and Wolves are basically where Everton should be, that's going to come back and haunt this club massively. I still don't know what happened for Conor Cody to be loaned out after everything he's done for Wolves, former captain. I just don't understand it. It's one of the maddest footballing decisions I've seen. Probably one of the smartest signings in the Prem, but it's going to go down as one of the worst decisions for Wolves, especially if they do get relegated, which I don't think they will. But yeah, they're in trouble this season for sure. Right, next up. Should I be self-indulgent and wallow in my own crapulence? Yeah, why not? Let's talk about Newcastle. I saw on Sky Sports, there was a lot of talk after this game against Brentford. Newcastle followed up their 4-1 win over Fulham with a 5-1 win over Brentford. And Newcastle are looking electric, especially at home. We are an attacking force again, and I am incredibly happy to see everything Eddie Howe has done. Now, as I said in previous episodes, I was not an Eddie Howe believer when he came into the club. I thought he was a good coach. I wanted Zidane, well, not first choice. Pochettino was my first choice. I've got a bias towards European managers. It's who I am. It's how I was raised. Ever since I grew up watching the Serie A as a kid, because Paul Gascoigne went off to Lazio, and I started supporting Lazio as my Italian team, and I got to see, like, the tail end of that great AC Milan side, and all of those players. You know, Serie A for me was always, like, the promised land, and I still have a soft spot for it now. So I want managers that are, like, you know, in that mould. But I've got to say it, like, I just love Eddie Howe now. Like, Eddie Howe, you're good for one-hand job if you're ever around my neck of the woods. You're all right, because he's just done a fantastic job at Newcastle. I think, like, after fucking 2 seasons of Bruce Ball, the football we're playing right now, it's like a thirsty man in the desert, like, just getting some, oh my God, the oasis of football. It's so good. And listen, he's doing it with the right people as well. Like, that's the thing. He's, like, resurrecting the careers of people like Almiron that were in and out of the side under Bruce because they were too good. You know what I mean? Trippier's looking so solid at the back. Always gives you an option on free kicks. For me, it's why Trippier's got to go to the World Cup. Fuck me, Joe Linton had his best game this game. He nearly even scored. There was an own goal he put the cross in for, and everyone, he sort of celebrated it, and everyone went, yeah, there's no way that's his goal, but go on, Joe. 'Cause it's like, Joe Linton basically is like, and I know you must have had this experience at school, like, you know, when you play football, you play it on the regular, and there's one fat kid there who can't actually play, and you basically get saddled with him. You know, sometimes it's your turn, it just depends on the order of the picks and who's there, but basically it's this one fat kid who comes every week, and he's terrible, and he's fat, but, like, you hate him at first, and every time he's on your team, you go, oh, no, but he works hard, and he tries so hard, and eventually you think, you know what? When it gets to the last 2, I'm going to pick the fat kid over the other guy because he actually works and he actually wants it and he actually cares. And the fat kid gets a little boost, doesn't he? He gets his self-esteem back, right? And he goes, fucking hell, I'm not the last who's been picked. I'm improving. And that fires him up. And now he's not just playing for you. He's putting his big, fat, meaty feet in. And he's tackling for you. And, like, actually, the more and more he plays, the thinner and thinner he gets. The better and better he gets. The more hyped up he gets. And suddenly, you're coming there going, I can't wait to see Fat Dave and have him on my fucking team again. And that is Joe Linton. That's what's happened to Joe Linton. Joe Linton is Fat Dave from school. He's done it. He's actually... And listen, I said under Steve Bruce when we signed Joe Linton for fucking, 40 mil from Hoffenheim as a striker, I said not only should the scouts that made this transfer happen be sent to prison for literal fraud, right? I said Joe Linton should be put in the stocks in the centre of Newcastle City Centre, and we should all be able to pelt him with tomatoes. It's a disgrace, but I can't say that no more because the kid is Fat Dave and he's become a legend like Fat Dave. So he's not the future of the team, no, by no standard. We are going to sell him off at some point, probably back to the Bundesliga, who knows? But I'll tell you, for now, what Joe Linton is doing in this team, just by being a big donkey, like a more muscle-bound Carlton Palmer, fuck it, fans love him. I love him. Howe's somehow made a £40 million bust of a striker into a really, really good defensive midfielder. So who gives a fuck? If it works, it works. So fair, right? At the back as well, Newcastle, defensive unit. Botman, what a signing. Low key again for me. Like, obviously, I'm a defensive-minded player, right? So I used to be when I could walk before esports. So I always have a bias towards good defenders. Botman's been a huge signing for us. So good. That combination of Botman and Burn is just brilliant. Like, it's top tier. It's top half of the table, that for sure. European level. I was a bit reserved in my predictions for where they were going to finish. I had them at like 8th, I think 7th or 8th in my table. I still think that's about where they're going to bottom out to. We have been ordinary in a few games, but the crucial aspect is we've been ordinary in games but didn't lose. And then when we go lights out and thermonuclear, we fucking score 4 or 5. And that's very reminiscent of the best aspects of the Keegan era. This is the most excited I've been about a Newcastle side in a long time. Most excited I've been about a coach in a long time. And we still got more signings to come. And remember, we did this without Isak. We scored 5 and Isak was away with a knock. So the other thing, just to keep sucking off Newcastle for a little bit longer, because I haven't been able to do it for years, just indulge me. I saw on Sky Sports, they were talking about Newcastle and they did a little segment. Bruno Guimaraes, is he the best centre mid in the Prem? That was the question. And Jamie Carragher pulled up some stats where he was literally at the top. And just below him was Rice, who actually was looking better statistically than I thought he's been this season. But that was after West Ham had just won a game, so, whatever. And I think Bruno for under 40 mil is just, again, what a signing. He is amazing. He does everything, and he did everything in this game. If you want a guy who wins tackles, he does it. He's got some of the, for a centre mid, he's got some of the highest success rates of tackling in the Prem. If you want a guy that's going to, be able to distribute the ball, he's got one of the most accurate passing rates of someone in the Prem. If you want somebody that gets you through balls a game, he's got one of the highest averages. I think he's second only to like fucking De Bruyne or something insane like that of successful through balls in the Prem. His stats are off the fucking chart. He's absolutely ridiculous. And, man, everybody loves someone who's loyal to the club immediately. Like, Bruno's got no reason to be loyal to the club, right? He just got here. Real Madrid is sniffing around him. He's going to play for Real Madrid at some point, or Barcelona. He's going to play for one of the big La Liga clubs. Like, be under no fucking illusions. I don't think Newcastle will be big enough to keep him, but he's saying all the right things. And Bruno said, my son will be a Geordie. Oh, that's fucking unreal. Like, what a thing to say. Every time he's on the field, standing ovations, walking off with his heart. We took him off in this game because we just won it. We were 5-1 up. And he walked around to like every stand, just doing this. Everyone like standing ovation every game. This guy, if Eddie Howe was good for one hand job, Bruno, mate, my hand is yours. You know what I'm saying? You're a fucking god. Like, I love you anytime. Like, if he just gives me 5 seasons, he can go and play for who he wants after. Like, and he'll be a club legend for sure. Like, just to talk a little bit about Brentford, right? Who, they were sort of in this game. This game was like 2-1 at one point. Ivan Toney got a penalty. It was sort of like one of them, soft handballs you can't do anything about with Dan Burn, but, with the rule, it's a good call. I thought, like, it's a shame because it kind of rains on Ivan Toney's parade. Obviously, Ivan Toney, been called up to England squad, really getting the plaudits. I like Ivan Toney. He's an ex-Toon lad. He's been doing great at Brentford, but at the end of the day, I think Brentford are going to be all right. They're like 12th in the league or something after this. They're going to be fine. They're not going to get sucked into the relegation. All the people who say they want to change their manager forget where Brentford were 2 years ago. They're the fucking fair weather fans. Fuck them. Stick with your mans. Brentford will be all right. Let's do West Ham. So West Ham obviously have had a really slow start to the season. They were playing some very poor football. Big name players missing for them. And by missing, I mean they're on the fucking pitch. You just can't find the cunts. And Dave Moyes pulling his fucking hair out, with some of the performances he's getting. But what did I say episode 1? I said your boy Gianluca Scamacca, who was playing for Sassuolo, got 16 games in 36 in the Serie A. They signed him. It was a reasonable amount of money. I think it was knocking on the door for 40 mil. It was 35, something like that. I said the key to West Ham is unlocking his potential. Because if you bring him up to Prem level and he starts scoring goals, they're going to be all right. They're going to have a really good striker. He looks solid to me. It wasn't happening at the start and it was looking like he might be a bit of a bust. But then they were playing him in Europe and he was getting his goals in Europe, different pace of football, different level of competition. Well, now he's starting to bang him in on the reg in the Premier League. And this was a weird game because he was actually a bit wasteful in this game. He had a lot of chances in this game, but when he eventually got his goal, bang, that was it. It was like they had a penalty. It was like 1-1 till the second half, about 60 minutes in. And once that happened, West Ham relaxed. They were in control. Fulham really couldn't do anything to them, and sort of they were just, a lot of aggressive pressing. I think Antonio came off the bench for this one. Antonio's been benched a little bit. Obviously, he's not been playing well. He's been anonymous in a lot of the big games, and I think that's given a little bit of fire in his belly. Antonio rocked up with a late goal here. It was an absolute farce of a goal. It was an embarrassing goal. It was a complete capitulation. There was a lot of mistakes. In fact, two of the goals, including Schumacher, sort of came from defensive lapses by Fulham, which is uncharacteristic for them. Yeah, Antonio come on, got like a 91st minute goal. Schumacher, clear man of the match. Should have had a hat-trick probably. But listen, this is West Ham turning the corner now. I said they were too good a squad to stay down there for too long. And in the Premier League, the seasons are long. I said nothing is decided in the first 10 games. That's basically, once you hit game 10, that's when you really have an idea of what someone's season's going to look like. And I think West Ham probably can feel a bit aggrieved, especially with the Chelsea bullshit, with the VAR. They should be a little bit further up the table. For me, they've looked a better team than Everton. They've looked a better team than Brentford. They should be knocking on the door with like Liverpool and where Bournemouth are at probably right now. They just haven't had that break, but I think they're going to kick on up the table now. And Schumacher is now 6 goals in 12 games in all competitions. So 50% strike rate for your man. It's only going to improve, I believe. I think he's a really good signing. And yeah, I think West Ham are going to be all right. So, bottom line, so far so good. Status quo maintained. Chelsea back in the game. Tottenham maintained. Arsenal, City, duking it out at the top of the table. That Arsenal-City game obviously was the one that was fucking postponed for the Queen's death. You have to wonder where we'd be at right now had that game gone ahead. But that is the game now. Like, all attention turns to Arsenal-City. First time they play in the league is going to be a huge chapter in who gets the title. So there it is. That was Prem Review.